Yeah. Anything else, Boyce?
Oh, nothing. We can go to number 4 if you want to.
Yeah, number 4. Yeah, I do think it's kind of cool. So while you need to practice self-care, so I'm doing a spiritual retreat coming up on Friday in Atlanta. I need to take some time to myself because running a household and having all these different jobs and all these different responsibilities, I can't be my best self unless I take out time to spend time alone so that I can reconnect with who I am. So I schedule all my spiritual retreats in between semesters. So I'm ending my academic semester and I'm going on a spiritual retreat. This is important for my development. It's important for me. And, it doesn't cost that much. You can do it in your own house. Just reflect on yourself and reflect on your family and what you want for your family and what you want for yourself. So you do need to take out time. Sorry, Boyce, I'm not going to be around you during that time, but I do need to take out time to just spend by myself where I'm able to cater to myself, and that's my self-care plan. But at the same time, you and your partner, particularly it's important when you're bringing children from previous relationships into the household. It's a chaotic situation. You never had that honeymoon situation where it was just you and your partner and then children came. It's like, boom, here's this 12-year-old in your house. You didn't have a chance to have time to with each other. And so it's also important after my spiritual retreat, when I'm all by myself, I'm looking to Boyce and I'm saying, hey, let's go on vacation, just me and you without these kids. I just want it to be me and you so that we can have time we can reconnect with each other. It's things are so busy. I mean, ever since the convention and Thanksgiving came, and here we're doing this weekend, Christmas is coming up. Things are pretty hectic, and our time is taken. And I want to make sure that I'm connected with my husband. I know what's going on with him, and he knows what's going on with me, and we can plan for our family and plan for what we want to do with our family. So I think that's important. Anything you want to add to that about spending time, quality time together?
No, I mean, I think it's important. I agree with that. I think that setting up. I would say maybe you could see it as compartments, right? You've got me and you, and then you got me, you, and these badass kids, and then you got me, you, and the kids and the in-laws, right? And me, you, the kids, the in-laws, and the job. So you got
Right.
these different layers that you have to manage, and understanding the boundaries. Going back to boundaries, I think is really important, and also just sort of figuring out what the goal is. What is the goal? Is the goal to have to maintain your relationship, to have a happy relationship? You can achieve those goals, but you got to take it seriously.
Yeah, and I think like the last point that I really wanted to make was that I do want to talk about stigma again, because because the biological father, biological mother, and those kids, that's one family structure. But I do want to highlight that you can have a biological mother and a stepfather, a biological father and a stepmother in the household, and have that be healthy for the children. Okay, because I think we need to take stigma away from this particular family structure. And Boyce, I don't want to negate the fact that fathers are important. I never said fathers weren't important. I said family structure and making sure family is making sure that family environment is important. I talked about research that says healthy, stable family environment means the non-custodial parent has regular contact with the child, quality relationships with the child. That creates a healthy environment for children. And I think we are going to never be, that we have to take the stigma out from thinking, oh my God, we're not this sort of traditional family makeup. We're never going to be as good as a normal biological family. And I think we need to get away from that stigma.
Yeah, I agree. Stigma doesn't help anybody.
Right.
But it also isn't helpful to pretend like apples are the same as oranges, right? So maybe an apple is just as healthy as an orange. Maybe an orange is just as healthier than an apple. Nobody knows, right? And I think at that point, that's where values come into play, and so I would argue that there are benefits and there are consequences to every type of family structure. And I think it's a matter of each individual deciding what type of structure works for you, what type of structure are you used to, and maybe with your partner coming to some sort of agreement or understanding about what structure we're looking for. I think so. I
I'm
wouldn't worry
not
about it.
saying it. I'm not saying it as my opinion. I'm speaking as a scientist. I'm speaking as a researcher. I'm speaking as a therapist. I'm speaking as a human being. I'm speaking from all those different hats that I have. So I just want to make that clear that we now know. We now know that really well-adjusted children who go on to live very productive lives, they don't have to come from a certain family structure. We know it's the environment of which that child
okay,
is raised.
so I hear that, right?
I just want to say that.
I totally hear
it's
that.
not my opinion.
I totally hear that, but just remember
You're
the research.
entitled to your own opinion.
But remember, you know, no. But remember, though, you and I are both scientists. We both have PhDs. We both went to graduate school for many years. And one thing I remember is that there was hardly ever any theory that was in unanimous agreement amongst all the scientists. You know, just like COVID, there's no one science. You know, they say trust the science, trust the science. Well, there is no one science. You know, Riza Islam brings that up, and I agree with him. So I think that, again, science is linked with culture. And so if someone says that the child is well adjusted, the measure, remember, you know, as a mathematician,
measures are sound and robust. Those
no. But what I mean, those, but what I'm saying is, because remember, clearly in the United States, something's wrong with our families. You know, in the Black community, something is wrong with our families, right? We have.
Right. Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. I think there is something.
Right. So I just would say to everybody here, and y'all get to hear us disagree, because we have this debate all the time. And a lot of it is linked to the fact that we grew up in different kinds of households. So I
was never abused.
Right. I agree.
I don't have that. I don't have that.
I do agree. I agree. And I was abused, but I was also loved in a lot of ways too. Right. So ultimately, what I would say is, you know, the question is, what is the goal? What is the goal? You know, I look at it like running a marathon. Some people think running a marathon is really unhealthy for your body. They have a ton of evidence to prove that, right? There are people that run marathons. Dr. Claude Anderson said, Boyce, stop doing all that running, because it's going to wear down your hips. When you get old, you won't be able to walk. Like me, I used to do a lot of running. It's very bad for you. Don't do it. But I did it anyway. I do it anyway, because the consequence of not running is I gain weight. You know, you have all these other health issues that can come from that. So either direction I go, there's going to be a benefit. There's going to be a cost. It's up to the individual to decide, you know, do you want to run the marathon or do you not? So running the marathon, just like making a marriage last, requires lots of pain, lots of compromises, lots of things that you wonder, like, why did I even do this, right? But then walking away and not running the marathon is also going to come with maybe some regrets, you know, and you're not going to be as fit as the person who actually ran to the end of the race, right? So it's not to say that it's good to run marathons or good to not run marathons. It is up to the individual, in my book, in my view.
The thing is that I want to get away from creating an impossible situation for people.
Right. I agree.
I want to get away from that, because I don't want people to say, oh Lord, my life is over. This is impossible. I want to tell people it is not impossible. There is hope for your family, no matter what has happened in the past. There are things you can do today to make things right. And so I don't want to say, oh my goodness, it's all over. I don't have this sort of situation. My life is over, because what stigma does is that, more than anything, it creates self-stigma. So when people feel stigmatized, they walk away from that and they feel like, I am wrong. There's something wrong with me. And that doesn't help anybody in your household. No one in your household. You're going around with your head down and you feel like something's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's things you can do by everything that we talked about today to make it right for your family. You're not doomed by your background. You can always turn it around. And that's the mistake that I don't want people to walk away from this thinking it has to be this certain way. There's no flexibility. So that's what I mean when I say, please stop stigmatizing just because this is just this one way can't be the only way. That's
it's never over. It's never over for anybody.
When we start having conversations about there's only one way to do it and there can't be any alternative ways, you know, that's white supremacy.
Well, you know, I think
talk about that some more, but we talk about white supremacy.
I agree. We can move to the next
one way of doing things.
I'm getting a little exhausted, so I think
all right. We've been at it for a while.
You and I go back and forth about this all day. So why don't we go to the next point? Go ahead.
No, I'm done. That was the last thing I wanted to say. I want to talk about stigma.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
I
think we skipped 7 about being consistent.
Oh yes.
You know, I think consistency.
We talked about that a little bit.
Well, yeah. Well, let me just draw that in as well. I can tell you that consistency, the benefit of consistency, I find, is that it reduces the drama and the trauma and the chaos, because at least you're not contributing to the volatility by being wishy-washy or shifting back and forth and stuff like that. I think that consistency allows you to create your own peace to some extent. I think the consistent person is the one who is one of the sturdier people in the group, and that was one of the things I always worked on. And
You are so sturdy, Boyce. Boyce
well,
is a sturdy person in
it's
the
worked
family.
pretty well. But you know, again, we're all affected by what our parents taught us. And so with
Yeah.
my father, when I asked him, how did you stay married 47 years? He said it was easy. I didn't get a divorce. Now Alicia has a whole different measure of why you should stay married and get divorces and all that.
No, it
Whereas
sounds as if, I don't believe that. It sounds as if the reason why your parents stayed together is because he never lost his commitment to the family. He was committed to the family, and that commitment was never lost. And what happens with situations is that the commitment is really the key piece to keeping marriages together. And as long as your dad is committed to being married and your mom is committed to being married, they will stay together. So I absolutely agree with him that commitment is important. And where relationships break down is when I'm committed to this marriage or I'm committed to this situation and the other person is not. So
yeah,
you have to
I can
maintain
definitely
level
see
of
that. Yeah,
commitment.
yeah. Well, he does say,
So I agree with him.
he does say that, he said, I stayed married because I kept coming home every day. So
Commitment.
so
Yes.
that was, you are right about that. I mean, he was consistent in that regard. But without
And,
talking about
and
my,
coming home every
but let's
day.
not talk about my father. Let's talk about,
Okay, we don't,
let's
but
talk about like just relationships in general.
yeah, I think,
I think that consistency piece goes a long way. That's my 2 cents on it.
yeah, I really do. And I think coming home every day, I'm using air quotes because um, it's not necessarily I'm physically going to come home every day. It's being in the house. It's being an active contributing member to the family. It's being coming home every day. That commitment of being in the home every day is being with your partner and being there with your partner. That's the commitment. It's having that level, a high level of trust for each other. That's the commitment piece. It's not just your body is there. It's just that you are committed to come home every day. And I'm using air quotes because who are you connected to in that family? Are you coming home? There's some people who's physically in the house, but they ain't come home yet. They still out somewhere else. Their mind is gone. They're not home. They're physically home, but they're not home. They haven't come home yet. So I'm using my air quotes because I agree with your dad. And I agree that that is very important in terms of being consistent, especially when there are situations where you're bringing children from other relationships that saw that relationship dissolve. It's important to show them that commitment, a high level of commitment can happen. And they're testing you to see, are you going to be committed to me? So yeah, I agree. I'm agreeing. That's good fatherly advice.
Okay. Next topic. Anything else?
I think that's it. I mean, what else? We're way over our time.
Yeah. I think
First of all,
it's beyond my nap time, so I'm ready to.
oh
I'm ready. We've been going for 5 hours, and so
my gosh.
I want to mention everybody in here that if you want to see the recording or you want to get the slides and the workbook, it's a big thick workbook. There's a lot of information there. You can log in at thedramafreefamily.com. That's thedramafreefamily.com. And I want to say thank you, Dr. Alicia, my beautiful wife. It was awesome to get a chance to co-teach with you. This is the first time we did this, and y'all get to hear us arguing together, going back and forth, resolving conflict. She calls this healthy conflict. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that that we don't see eye to eye on every issue. We just don't, and she doesn't, but she has a right to her opinion. I have a right to mine. And what it comes down to a lot of times I find is how you resolve your disputes. Are you open to being influenced by other people, and while still holding firm to your point of view. And I tell you this, all of you that have where we've talked before in the past, you guys know that one of the things I've mentioned to you and I've encouraged you to consider is not being offended because somebody disagrees with you, right? They're disagreeing with you doesn't mean they're terrible people, you should cut them off, or they're worthless. It might just mean, you have to hear them out and then, see the value of their perspective, and then make sure you defend your own, like bring your own point of view. And I think that's okay. And it creates challenges, it creates challenges in every situation, every relationship. And so I think it was good to sort of flesh things out like that, because you see, we Alicia and I probably agree on about 80% of things, right? 20%. I'm like, no, this is where I'm coming from on this. And let me make this point, right? So I want you to take from this what benefits you. And I want you to also, if I was to really get you to grab onto at least one thing, it's that, a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with, there's an answer out there. There are solutions out there. There's YouTube videos, there's books you can read, there's therapists you can talk to. And I'm telling you that at the end of the day, I can't think of too many things more important than your mental and physical health. And they're both connected, because believe me, if you're unhappy and stressed out all the time, eventually you're going to get sick and your life isn't going to go well. So work on your mental health. This is extremely important. So whatever their path is for you, I wish you the best. So again, you can log in at thedramafreefamily.com. You can get a copy of this lecture. You can get a copy of all the slides and a copy of the workbook. You can take that back to your family, and good luck to you. God bless everybody. Good to see you. It was cool. It was real. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.